Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. I'm very pleased to see you all here this morning. I'm Ordzhonikidze, head of Justice for Journalists Foundation, and I'm very pleased to welcome you here today for the third edition of our annual Anti-SLAPP conference. It has a very optimistic title, Tracking Implementation, and there indeed have been several very important positive developments in tackling SLAPPs in the UK and the EU that we're looking forward to discussing over the coming 2 days. These developments, however, would not have been possible without, firstly, brave journalists who spoke up about their harrowing experiences. They wouldn't have happened without the media freedom and free speech NGOs who propelled this topic higher on the political agenda in their respective countries. Eloquent and persuasive human rights and media lawyers fought for their journalist clients and with the NGOs to uncover the true motives behind legal persecution of media workers. And of course, the current progress in countering SLAPPs is unimaginable without the tireless efforts of Daphne Caruana Galizia wonderful family and the foundation they formed. Justice for Journalists Foundation has been in the forefront of supporting the anti-SLAPP movement from the very first year of our grant program, 2019. And over the last 5 years, we have dedicated around 500,000 euros to support journalists investigating the use of SLAPPs against their colleagues and themselves, as well as the international NGOs raising awareness of this issue, and of course, dozens of thematic discussions aimed at eliminating the use of SLAPPs against media workers that we supported, organized and co-organized together with our partners. Raising awareness, advocating and working alongside legislators and policymakers to help create robust protection against various abusive practices of shutting down the truth and independent voices is what the civil society has in its toolkit. Against us is the plethora of malicious state and non-state actors whose immense resources and 90% impunity level enables them to silence the truth and undermine the work of journalists domestically and internationally with the help of different crafty methods. Many say that SLAPPs are the most civilized among those methods. Indeed, when we look at the number of media workers killed in the line of duty, kidnapped, beaten, tortured, imprisoned, harassed and threatened, we might tend to agree with such definition. However, I would argue that when SLAPPs become a tool of repression in the hands of state actors, the things are quickly going out of hands. When democratic institutions weaken, those with most power and money throw all their weight behind introducing repressive legislation and using it to prosecute alternative and independent voices. Look at Belarus, where at least 35 journalists are serving time in inhumane gulag conditions under the charges of extremism, terrorism, and treason. Everything legal, perfectly legal. Look at Russia, where American citizen and Wall Street Journal journalist Evan Gershkovich is held in detention center for the last 8 months, accused of espionage. Where UK citizen and Russian journalist Vladimir Kara-Murza serves 25 years for high treason. And dozens of other detained and imprisoned journalists and media workers. They are imprisoned under charges varying from disseminating fakes about the Russian armed forces to supporting extremist movements. Look at Hong Kong, where after China tightened the national security laws, 75-year-old Jimmy Lai is held in the maximum security prison while his media outlet has been destroyed. Look at Turkey, with its highest number of journalists behind bars and new laws enabling to put people in jail for disinformation and fake news distribution on the social media. Look at India, where journalists are now being charged with terrorism charges for insulting the president. In these countries, as well as in many others, and you can name Guatemala, Philippines, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Indonesia, it is not only the journalists who are targeted and paralyzed by the state-sponsored legal attack. The whole media outlets and publishing houses are now closed. Families are targeted, support network and even lawyers are risking their freedom and well-being by being labeled enemies of the state. I haven't named all the autocracies and failing democracies who currently fight against the freedom of speech with vengeance. But those who I have named are populated by almost 4 billion people, half of the world population. Non-democratic and violent governments are on the rise. They have completely eliminated dissent within their borders and have turned their information and conventional weapons of mass destruction against the Western democracies and international institutions. And they're quite successful in utilizing our democratic institution, our laws, our justice systems to proliferate their corrupt practices wherever they can. Their aim is either directly or via their proxies to undermine democracy, contaminate the information environment with fakes and disinformation, weaken international alliances and institutions, polarize the societies. They strive in hostile, chaotic environments that are created as a result. And it is the truth told by professional and civil reporters, investigators, and whistleblowers that is the last frontier in this battle. Therefore, today, the role of independent, honest, investigative media is more important than ever before. This current battle is between the good and evil, between the light of the knowledge and the darkness of scared silence, aggressive disinformation, and medieval obscurity. But back to the optimism. A lot of good things have been done over the last years. In 2020, Just for Journalists Foundation and Foreign Policy Centre came up with the idea of a UK-wide expert survey among journalists to map the SLAPP problem in the UK. The results of this survey have fed the debate about SLAPPs and given rise to a series of initiatives, including our annual Anti-SLAPP conference. During our first conference held in hybrid format in 2021, we looked very attentively at the problem at hand, named it for what it was, lawfare against truthful investigative reporting, unwrapped the mechanism, spotlighted victims, perpetrators, real aims, and the toll it takes. We heard from Claire, Rocastle-Brown, Martin Bright, Manuel Delia, Oliver Bolo, and many others. We also looked at enablers and facilitators of SLAPPs, such as private investigators and so-called reputation management firms. During our second conference, we looked closely at two particular domestic cases where high-profile journalists were sued in the UK by the very rich and very powerful individuals. The emblematic case of Catherine Belton, the author of Putin's People, who was sued by Putin's people, demonstrated very clearly how excruciatingly expensive the truth can be. About £3 million were spent by her publishing house HarperCollins on legal fees, and the case has never been even heard in the open court. The parties reached an agreement to make some minor edits to a few paragraphs in her 642-page book. We also heard from the brilliant investigator Carol Cadwallader, who had spent the last 4 years fighting the SLAPPs brought against her by Aaron Banks. Banks smartly pursued her as an individual for 25 words in her TED Talk and related tweet. As a result, Carol didn't have the luxury of a mighty publishing house or media outlet sparing her the expenses and had netted 1.2 million in legal fees. The toll on her, in her own words, has been immense, with profound effect on her physical and psychological health. She has left journalism as a result. Nobody should go through such harrowing experience and pay the toll for being an honest reporter, pursuing truth for the sake of the public rights to know. We are happy that between our second and third today's conference, we have seen that the efforts to fight SLAPPs have come to the fruition. The problem is now fully acknowledged and have shot up to the very top of political agenda. Thanks to the bravery of the SLAPPs victims who have told their stories and the tireless efforts of the anti-SLAPP coalitions, both in the UK and the EU, we have witnessed some tectonic changes in the UK and European anti-SLAPP landscape. Last month, the UK passed Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act that includes the first anti-SLAPP provision in the UK law. The UK National Committee for Safety of Journalists has recently launched a task force for working on non-legislative measures to protect journalists from SLAPPs that, among other things, will look into bespoke training for legal professionals and judges, as well as continue the research effort. In November last year, the Solicitors Regulation Authority, the body that regulates solicitors in England and Wales, released a warning notice on SLAPPs to several law firms. And since then, it has continued to open investigations into potential SLAPP cases. On the EU level, in summer 2023, the EU Directive to Protect Journalists and Rights Watchdogs from Abusive Litigation entered the final stage in which the EU Parliament, Commission and Council have to agree on the final shape of the law before it enters into force. I would also like to salute the global industry initiative that resulted in the creation of Reporters Mutual, insurance mechanism put together by OSCRP with the generous support from USAID. This covers the legal expenses of insured journalists intentionally drained by the SLAPP's beneficiaries and enablers. A lot still needs to be done, and this work just can't be put on pause. Today and tomorrow, we will be hearing on how these and other measures are being implemented and what else needs to be done. You all have the agenda printed out, and those who are joining us online can access it through the website anti-slappconference.info. I sincerely hope that these 3 editions of our conference will continue to stir the debate towards implementing more measures that would effectively eliminate the use of vexatious legal methods against honest, professional and civil reporters and investigative journalists. We at the Justice for Journalists Foundation are immensely proud to have been supporting this very tangible change for better. We are grateful for this beautiful venue provided by one of our donors, Mikhail Khodorkovsky. Also, this year, our conference is co-funded by UNESCO, by Wigan LP, RPC, and Thomson Reuters, who contributed to creating of this banner, funding the catering, tech support, video and audio streaming. Thank you very much. We hope that in the years to come, the support of the honest and responsible reporting on the matters of public interest will continue. As our 5-year grant program comes to its end, I encourage the supporters of this conference and others who are not indifferent to the media freedom to please continue to invest in countering SLAPP in the UK and elsewhere. Without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to our today's keynote speaker, Peter Geoghegan, an Irish writer, investigative journalist and broadcaster. His book, Democracy for Sale, Dark Money and Dirty Politics, was a Sunday Times bestseller. He was previously editor-in-chief and CEO at the award-winning website Open Democracy, and he currently works for the investigative outlet OCCRP and is based in London. Peter.